Hi Stampers, Sonia with Linked by Ink here, your independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to create this cute card using an embossing paste technique and using gilded leafing. And it's just so cute. Okay, let's get started. First of all, we're going to use a die from the Potted Succulents die, and you can find that on page 39 in the January to June catalog. It has two sets, coordinates with all the stamps, and then the die itself. And this die, I've already ran that through a piece of cardstock, and the cardstock is 5.5 by 4 1/4. So 5.5, 4 1/4. Whoops. Okay, I'm new to tutorials, so bear with me. And I've ran that through, and then you'll gently peel that off. Don't pull too hard because it's very, very thin and detailed, so you just want to do that softly. And then you will end up with a piece that looks just like this. And that's super cute, so you could take that and just put it on a piece of cardstock, you could put it on a piece of designer series paper and create a way. But what we're going to do is attach it to a 5.5 by 6.5 piece of cardstock. Now this is the thick Whisper White cardstock. Well, now it's thick Basic White. We did have a change recently between our Whisper White and Basic White, only because the Whisper White people went out of business, unfortunately, due to COVID. But Stampin' Up! Found another wonderful manufacturer, and so now we have the Basic White. Okay, so what you'll do is go ahead and tape that down with some washi tape onto the paper here. Now I'm actually going to take you through this step because I want you to be able to see exactly how it's done. And this is using embossing paste, and you can find this on page 146 of the annual catalog. And then you've got your palette knives. I like using this one personally. And you can find that also on page 146. And it's a little bit like icing consistency. And here's a little tip. If you put it aside, and if you're anything like me, you order something, goes over here for a while, and you kind of forget, oh, I've got to use this. So if it does dry up just a touch, you can take just a little bit of water and spritz that in there and mix it around, and it will make it like new. So I like using the back of the little spatula. And if you've ever iced a cake, or you've ever done any work with concrete, cement, that's exactly how this feels like. So it's kind of like a thick icing. And you just keep putting it down and see how that's getting nice and covered and getting in the grooves. You don't want to put it super thick. You just want a thin little coverage. Making sure you see how all those little holes right there, I don't know if you can see that, but you want to make sure you get in all those little grooves. So I'm just going to bear with me for a minute while I do this. It's actually really quite fun. And even see how it's thick here, you can just smooth that. You can use the edge here and just kind of smooth it down. But then you want to make sure if you've got any gaps, you want to get right in there. All the little nooks and crannies. Okay. And then I just give it a little once over. Smooth it out a little bit. Now you can also buy this in a shimmering white. So it's kind of like glittery. This is just the regular white. Alright. Here's the fun part. Now obviously you're going to do this at the beginning because this is going to take time to dry. So you're going to take off this washi tape. Just gently pull that off. And in just a minute, the magic will happen. Okay. It's not actually too messy. Gently lift that piece off. It's like peeling contact paper if you've ever done that. Then you're going to sit it down and you're just going to let it dry. And then if you do this part and it's not too thick, you can actually reuse this part for another part of a card as well. So you're just going to set that aside. And I did use a heat gun on mine as well, and that worked fine heating it up. So you're left, ew, excuse me, you're left with something that looks like this. And this is just plain cardstock. The reason you want to do this out of your thick cardstock, if you use the regular white cardstock, it can stick in those grooves and it can break. I know this because I did this and it broke. So definitely use the thick cardstock when you're making that. And so this is hard. I know you can't feel it, but we can hear it. Okay, so next we're going to get one of our spritzers, and you can find these on page 147. It's a pack of 2. And what I've done with that is I filled it with isopropyl rubbing alcohol and 91%. I believe the higher the number, the quicker it dries, so I like to use that higher number. And I just used a little funnel to get that in there. And then I used Pool Party ink and just put 3 little drops in there. And you can make it darker if you want. I was actually, if you're looking at this, I was going for a very muted look. I'll show you the difference side by side so you can see the before and the after. There's definitely a difference. It, excuse me, it pops out a little bit. So, you're going to get this, give it a shake, and then we're just going to spritz with the Pool Party. You can see that color going on there. Now, it will dry a little muted. It won't dry as dark as what it looks. So if you want to go darker, you can make it as dark or as light as you want. You can give it how much tint you want. But obviously, the more you put on there, the longer it's going to take to dry. So you would, ooh, fumes from the alcohol. So you would set that aside and let that dry. Then, once it's all dry, you're going to go ahead and cut it out to 3 3/4 by 5. And that is going to fit perfectly. Now, when you are cutting, here's just a quick tip. It's barely 3 3/4 inches width. So when you start your cut, start just on the edge here. And then trim from that edge down. Okay? I hope I'm making sense there. So you're going to have this, and this is hard, and you can see it's got that beautiful Pool Party. It just kind of settles in the deep areas. I love that. And oh, here's a little sample of, this is a shimmery white one I did for one of my classes I had left over. And you can just see, I hope, all the shimmer on that. So you can save that and use it as a cover. Obviously, you just want to make sure you get the whole thing. We weren't doing it for that, so if I was planning on that, I would be a little bit more careful with my placement of the shimmer paste. So we can put this aside for a second, and then we're going to get our really super cute art bundle. This is called Art Gallery Bundle, and it is on page 33 of the January to June mini catalog. And we've got our dies in here. You'll see I've put a little magnetic sheet in there to keep them all together. And then I just outline my dies, so if I'm putting stuff away, I'm like, wait, there's one missing. Well, sometimes when you purchase these, they're laid out very particular, so the only way you get them all back on is the way they came. So I try to, now as I get my dies in, I try to do this to the package, so that's done. I'm not losing anything. And then we're just going to take some of our scrap paper. And again, I'm going to do this step by step so you can actually see, because now we're going to do that gilded leafing. And I do need my stamp pad. Give me a second. Okay. I got this stamping mat from Amazon. It's not Stampin' Up. I wish it was Stampin' Up, but it's I really like it for stamping. And this is Poppy Parade ink, and that is on page 142 of the annual catalog, along with the old olive ink. Page 142 for both of those. So we're going to use this stamp image. you can see it's got a stain on it. That's okay. With the photopolymers, once you use it and clean it, they will stain like that, but there's nothing wrong with them. It's just the color. And this is a 2-step stamping. So you'll see the one here, that's the first one we're using. And then when we go to use the Gilded Leafing, we're going to use this one right here. Okay. Let's see if we can get this right the first time. But if not, we'll just flip it over. That's why there's 2 sides to paper. Beautiful. So you'll see it's not perfect. That's supposed to be like that. And it's just so pretty. Just going to put this lid back on, because if I don't, you know I'll stick something in it. That will not be fun. Okay, here we've got the old olive. This is actually this is the old ones that Stampin' Up! Had, and this is the new style. I just haven't replaced it. I've had this thing for 8 years, maybe 9 years now. Still working just fine. So the ink pads do last a long time, very durable. You're getting your money's worth when you purchase one. And then of course you're getting you purchase the refills to go with it. We have coordinating refills for all of our ink pads. And then we have this super cute little flower. You do want to stamp them just a little bit apart because we're going to cut them out. But before we cut them out, we're going to use, they bought back, heat and stick powder. And for those of you who have been stamping for a while, you're familiar with that. You can find that on page 33 in the January to June catalog. And then Versamark is on page 146 in the annual catalog. Now, if you've never done embossing before, Versamark is a product that's like it's like sticky ink. Think of it like sticky rice, sticky ink. It'll make things stick to it. Now, if I wanted something precise, I would use an embossing buddy, but I don't. So you'll see this kind of just lines up, but it's not exact, and it doesn't have to be exact. That's the beauty of this card. You really don't have to be too precise with it. And of course I forgot something, but that's okay. Let's move this. Okay, now we're gonna put our heat and stick powder on it, and you can dump on as much as you like. It's okay, it won't hurt it. And then you can try to get it all back in there. Sometimes using a coffee filter really helps. I always give it a flick. Or even a piece of paper. I usually get the smaller pieces of paper from the Stamparatus, and I use that. Okay, so that's the heat and stick powder. We've got the Versamark. We're ready for the next step. And let me get my tub. Okay. The new Gilded Leafing. I just knocked over a light. Don't worry about that. We're doing this raw. There's going to be no editing, because nobody got time for that. It's Super Bowl Sunday. So, not sure if you can see my tub, but it's a plastic tub, and this is the Gilded Leafing, and it goes everywhere. So I suggest maybe a tub with a lid that you can put on. This does have a lid to it. I just took it off, and that way it kind of keeps the mess down in this area. I actually took this on vacation with me when we were doing crafting last weekend, and it came in very handy. We used it in the kitchen sink area, and just did everything right there. So we'll put that to the side, and we will get our heat tool. And you can also find the heat tool on page 146 of the annual catalog. Now what you don't want to do is blow in there. That would be bad. Do not blow towards your Gilded Leafing. So you're going to see this white powder. Now with the heat and stick, if you put too much heat and you leave it on for too long, you will actually dry it out and nothing's going to stick to it. So if you do this and then you go to put on your leafing and you're like, why is nothing sticking? It could be because you waited and put too much heat on it. So you just want to do it until it just turns. And ignore the noise here, but I am going to do it so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You want to do it just till it turns clear. As soon as it, look, started, we got it all, stop. As soon as that turns clear, stop, and then I just throw some leafing on. This will stick to your fingers. It looks like a hot mess, but it'll all turn out. It's so fun to play with. It's light. It's almost like, my friend said it's almost like playing with flour. So you can just pop that on. I usually rub it with my finger first. And then you get these sponges. This is a stamping sponge. We actually cut these a lot in quarters and use them for sponging, excuse me, with ink. And you can find these on page 147 of the annual catalog, and you'll get a pack of 3 for them. And this is forever my Gilded Leafing sponge. And you just want to wipe it off, just gently. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? And it was so easy. The hardest part, honestly, is just keeping everything in the bucket. But let me put the lid back on, because we don't need this everywhere. And I actually have the tub with a locking lid just to be extra safe. I've got that lock there, so I know it's not going to go everywhere. It can go all over the tub. We don't care about that. Okay, so next you're going to run this through with your dies that I was showing you before, the Floral Art Gallery dies. You've got that one. And it's very easy to line up. And that one. And you'll run them through your cutting machine to get these cute 2 little pieces. Remove that. And voila. Okay. Next we need a base. So this is the Pool Party cardstock. And this is at 5.5 by 8.5 and score at 4 1/4. So that's your average size card. And just a hint, when you score, a lot of people think you're supposed to fold along the line where it's indented, but you actually want the bump. You fold along the bump. It seems opposite, but apparently the person who invented the score tool, I can't speak, said you should fold along that bump. And I get a wonderful fold every time since I've started doing that. So now, because this base is kind of heavy, I do recommend using a liquid glue or just a very strong glue, because you don't want that coming off. So I would not use, regular snail adhesive on that. Definitely don't. Then I stamped a couple of sentiments, and you'll see right here I put some dimensionals on the back, and I just laid that down. I'm not actually going to do the whole card because you know how to do this part. So dimensionals, pop it on there, and then the sentiment, that one had I miss you, but then in the let me get it for you, in the Floral Gallery dies, you have these cute little dies here. So you have a long one and a short one, and all these sentiments are coming from this stamp set. So you can really make this card anything you want. I think it's very versatile. And so you can have I'm thinking of you, or even a happy birthday. Who wouldn't like to get that on their birthday? So make it your own, whichever way you do it. You can make this any color. I just chose Pool Party, but you can change up the color of the flowers, and you can change up the color of the cardstock, and you can really make it your own. And then on the inside, I did coordinate the same size piece of cardstock. Again, that is the, what is that? Too many pieces to remember. There's a lot of steps to this card, but it is quite easy. No, it's not that one. Oh, here we are, raw. This is happening. I think, here, this is what we do when we can't remember. Okay, it is just use this mat to measure. It is 3 3/4 by 5. So 3 3/4 by 5. The same as the front, 3 3/4 by 5. Was that out of frame? Probably. This little image, it was the same stamp set. I used Poppy Parade. I did Stamp Off. If you don't know what stamping off means, let me show you real quick, just so we're all on the same page. It basically means, let me just get a piece of paper, that you are taking your stamped image, you know, stamp here. I do need my stamper, and then stamp it, and it'll make it a little more muted. If you put the whole thing on, it'll be a lot darker. Okay, that's not a perfect stamped image, let's ignore that, but you see the difference in color? So you get a lighter tone, and that's great because this, if you don't have the gold gilding, the gold gilded leafing, you can also do like a stamp off first and then stamp in the regular color, and you'll have that tone on tone look to that card as well. Okay, so hopefully my tutorials will get better as I practice more, but hopefully you enjoyed that, and I really hope that you go ahead and try and play with this embossing paste. It is a lot of fun. You can use all different dyes with it. They even have different stencils with it in the catalog, in the annual catalog, that you can choose from. So yeah, have fun with that. If you have any questions, and shoot me a message. You can find me on Facebook at Stamps Ink Paper. You can find me on YouTube, which is hopefully where you're watching this video. And you can shoot me a message anytime you like. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.